My mom and sister spent years trying to push me back into my ex's arms, but I married someone else, and now we are expecting a baby. When I was 16, I started seeing my best friend, and we were together until I graduated from high school. He proposed, and I turned him down. My family asked me to rethink it, suggesting we may have a lengthy engagement or even pledge to reunite, and there was much turmoil with them for a while. My relationship with my 36-year-old brother weakened, and the one with my 32-year-old sister never recovered. She became intolerable when she started dating my ex's brother, as she was convinced my ex was the ideal fit for me. My siblings invited my ex everywhere, including several family holidays, but I said nothing since he was their friend as well. That is, until my sisters started advocating for our reunion, no matter the circumstances. My sister tried everything from arranging for us to share a room during holidays to setting us on blind dates, one of which included my ex. I had had enough after a while and urged my parents to step in. They stopped inviting my ex to events or letting him tag along so often, and were upfront with my siblings. It was only marginally better, but while my brother withdrew, my sister did not. It all came crashing down when I met my now husband during a semester abroad. We simply clicked, even though he attended a different university in another country. For me, it was fantastic. We started dating a year ago. Except for my sister, my family was really happy for me. She persisted in saying I would eventually grow out of the honeymoon phase. I obviously didn't, and I told her I would stop talking to her if she tried to interfere again. After many battles, my sister tried to get me back with my ex. What did she do? She appointed one of her friends as my husband's date, asked me to spend all my time with a bridal party, which included my ex, and made me her maid of honor. The poor girl tried to pass off as my husband, and we didn't realize it until we were at the reception. Since we aren't married yet, my sister said it was acceptable to explore things with others. I left the celebration, and the next day, I spoke with my brother and parents. I told them that although I wouldn't force them to make decisions, I would never interact with my sister again and would cut off all communication with them if they tried to mend things between us. While my dad and brother indicated they would support my choice, my mom was distraught and tried to compromise. Aside from 2 attempts from my mother over 6 years, I haven't spoken, written, or communicated in any way with my sister. From gifts to tantrums, my sister has tried everything to mend our relationship, but I hardly interact with her at all. If we're at a family dinner or gathering, I just pretend she doesn't exist. She tried to generate drama or make snide remarks at first, but she gave up when nobody supported her. She was not involved in any planning for family events, even though she had a meltdown when she learned she was invited to my wedding. According to my brother, his relationship with my ex has worsened since then, and he feels bad for going along with everything for so long. Though they're not as close now, they still talk. The problem arose when I announced that we were having our first child. My mom's birthday was a few weeks ago, and though it wasn't my first child, I have a granddaughter already. My sister was still upset. Everyone was really happy, but my mother asked me for tea one day. My instincts told me not to attend, but I went anyway. When I arrived, I immediately noticed my sister's car. Then there was my sister, her husband, my ex, and his mom. As I walked in the door, my ex said he was just trying to be romantic, but he realized I wouldn't appreciate it. His mother apologized and said I should forgive her, as she was only trying to do what was best for me. I was texting my dad, brother, and husband while looking at my mom incredulously. My brother-in-law had the audacity to tell me I was a nasty person and that I should learn to act like an adult, especially now that I was pregnant. My mom then began reading a letter about how her daughters weren't close, how my sister was wrong, but was well-intentioned, etc. My sister then read her letter, started crying, and essentially repeated what the others had said. I sat there in silence until my brother showed up. He was furious. He took my things and told them all he was disgusted and disappointed. We left and stayed in his car until my dad and husband arrived. By then, I was crying and my brother kept apologizing. I'm not sure what happened next, but I emailed everyone except my mom, including my lawyer's contact details, and said I never wanted to be bothered by any of them again. If they tried, I would report it to the police. Nobody has reached out, but my dad told me that, based on experience, my mother and sister are hysterical. They assured him they had to fix things, and my sister wanted to be in my baby's life, maybe even acting as a godmother. My dad is living with my brother now, while some family members support me and others don't. My sister is now spreading the narrative that my husband is keeping me away from my family. I've even had mutual acquaintances call me, concerned about her well-being and asking what happened. Although I hate airing my personal life publicly, I did share a lengthy Facebook post about everything that happened. Though it wasn't exactly planned, I believe my sister, brother-in-law, and ex deserve the exposure. Now, my mom has been inconsolable, which makes me uncomfortable, but not as bad as how she made me feel with her little intervention a few days ago. I agreed to meet with her and set the ground rules for any future contact, including family therapy, explicit boundaries, no sharing of information about me with my sister, and separate holidays. Above all, she'll be cut off if she ever does anything similar again. She's willing to do it, although she feels it's excessive. She thought it meant instant access to baby news and that everything would be fixed, but I explained that it's a process and she has to show that she's changed. My dad and brother have continuously apologized for not stopping things sooner and for allowing the situation to drag on. We have forgiven them, although my mother-in-law is doubtful about whether cutting off my mom's access to her grandchild is the best course of action. My husband supports whatever I decide. My mom believes she deserves access to my baby, but my husband feels it's finally my choice. I'm conflicted. What do you think? Should I forgive my mom and let her into my life again? Should I cut ties with her for good to protect my family and my child? She must prove she can follow your guidelines. Your sister has to live with the results of her actions. To be fair to my brother, he did start to cut my ex off when I informed my parents I was uncomfortable with him always being around. I lived away for college, but I would visit my family during breaks. He worked very hard to make my husband feel welcome, which only deepened the rift between him and my ex, since my ex felt betrayed by my brother. My husband is now one of my brother's closest friends. He only talks to my ex about our nephew, or to avoid being unpleasant. Commenter: you have to understand that your mother is endorsing all of this. She knows your mother believes it's appropriate. Therefore, a big part of the reason your sister is continuing this behavior is because she's supported by your mother. This situation makes me somewhat depressed, since my mother was always so friendly toward my husband, and now I'm questioning the entire nature of their relationship. For some background, neither my ex nor I come from a religious family. We are not Indian and we are not particularly religious. My parents were polite at first and thought it was just a phase, but they eventually realized it wasn't. They pushed me to start college and moved on from it, but now I realize my dad really helped me and my mom may have just followed along with my sister's opinions. My sister suggested that she and my ex's brother would be best friends, but it's clear now that she wants to push for a reunion. Update: 16 hours later, I want to thank everyone for the great support and guidance so far. There are too many to respond to individually, but I would like to add some more context. I broke up with my ex when I was 18. He's 47 today. Our separation happened because I wasn't ready for marriage, and my sister's fixation on getting us back together has driven her insistence. Although my mother has always been kind to my husband, I'm starting to believe that it was all just for show, which makes me depressed. My ex has 2 children with another ex and has been with other people since our breakup. However, he's never married anyone else because he has only ever wanted to marry me. My sister sees this as something romantic. I should also emphasize that his obsessive behavior isn't just toward me. From what I've heard, he was similar with his children's mother. Now he's focusing on me again, and my sister is supporting it, hoping that he can help her bring me back into the fold so she can be a good aunt. When I informed my parents that I was uncomfortable with my ex always being around, my brother started to cut him off. I lived away for college, but visited my family during breaks. He made a big effort to make my husband feel welcome, which only worsened his relationship with my ex, who felt betrayed by my brother. My husband is now one of my brother's closest friends, and he only talks to my ex about our nephew, or to avoid being unpleasant. Commenter: you need to understand that your mother is actively endorsing all of this. She believes that this is acceptable, and this is a big reason why your sister continues her actions. My mom's actions have been deeply troubling. She's been faking warmth toward my husband, and now I'm questioning everything. It's honestly depressing. Both my parents seem to support my desire not to be around my ex so much, and we started to enjoy quality time together. My mom even told my dad she was making my favorite tea and cookies for the day we were supposed to meet. But he ended up staying with my uncle, and now he's really upset. When my husband met my sister, he tried very hard, but now he just dismisses her. He believes she is mentally unwell, though we're not sure if that's truly the case. Regardless, her behavior is difficult to justify. Their official perspective is that it would be best for me to confront the root of my issues with my sister, which is why they invited my ex and his mother. My husband and I are from the same racial background and share similar values. We are not particularly religious, and neither my ex nor my husband have any significant financial differences. The circumstances have infuriated my sisters-in-law, my brother's wife, and my husband's sisters. They've been discussing the possibility of permanently cutting off my mother, but they want to give her some time to see if she'll change. The more I think about it, the more I feel I may have to go no contact with my mother for the sake of my child. The thought of my mother's actions being fake is truly breaking my husband's heart. He says he doesn't want anything from her, and that's the kind of retribution he feels is fair. I've also learned that my mother has been speaking ill of me. My dad says he's disgusted with her actions and can't understand how we got here. But he and my brother are committed to supporting me, and they want to help me fight against anything my mother or sister might do to undermine me. Update 2. I would like to thank everyone for the kind words and encouragement. I'm posting this update here so it won't be removed, as the original post was. My situation is still very difficult, but I'm trying to stay positive. My brother and his wife sat my nephews down and told them that their grandmother was ill and had hurt Auntie, but that it wasn't because of me alone. It was because of how she treated everyone, including the kids. My mom had a complete meltdown when she heard that, claiming that she had the right to see her grandchildren. She's now been talking about it constantly, even though it's clear that my nephews don't care about her behavior. As for my dad, he's looking for a permanent apartment, but he's staying with us until January. He's been quite depressed, and he's already contacted divorce attorneys and begun looking into his financial options. My mother has been sending him countless emails and calls, but he's been ignoring her. He was advised not to block her just yet by his lawyer. He briefly thought about forgiving her, but after a recent visit to our house, I had a health scare due to the stress, and it became clear that I can't allow her back into our lives. My sister still keeps messaging my brother, asking for help, but it's clear to everyone that her actions are irrational and have caused irreparable damage. My nephew is losing so much of his family, and that's devastating. I'm heartbroken for him, but it is what it is. My mother is determined to pursue custody and grandparent rights, and to make matters worse, my attorney had to write her a letter, warning her about the harm she's caused to both the child and my health. The letter also made it clear that if she continues harassing me, it will lead to legal action. My brother also sent her a letter, and both my mother and sister have turned down attending therapy, even though it's clear they both may have some mental health issues. After everything came to light, it became clear that my mother and sister have had a long-standing agreement on how they operate during the holidays and with my family. Right now, I'm focused on my health, my baby, and the future. Hi, I wanted to share another update since I've had some time and have received numerous requests for one. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for all the support, comments, letters, and advice. I am so grateful for your guidance, as it has helped me become even more cautious about who I trust. Some of you asked about the baby's gender announcement. After 20 weeks, we were sure enough to share it, but we wanted to take our time. We'd experienced a loss before, and this time, we wanted to be extra careful. We also thought it would be meaningful for my mother, but that's no longer something I'm concerned about. After the announcement, my husband and I decided to clean up and spend some time with my dad. During this time, we found a tracker on our dog's vest, something we never expected. I was honestly shocked and offended when I realized my sister had been tracking us. We decided to take action and moved away. We're renting our old house now, and while it used to feel like home, it now feels ruined by everything that's happened. We've changed our numbers, gotten new devices, and informed friends, companies, and the police about the situation. We've started family therapy, and while I've forgiven my dad and brother, they still feel deep shame about how things played out. As for my mom and sister, they argue they don't need therapy, and sadly, they are too entrenched in their behavior to see that they need help. My dad has created a new will. He's ensured that my sister's son receives a trust fund, but my sister herself will receive a minimal amount. He's done with her and has made that clear. As much as I feel bad for her, I'm focusing on my baby now. It's been an emotional roller coaster, but we're starting to find a sense of peace. We've taken measures to protect ourselves from anyone who is still leaking information to my mother and sister. My ex, who my friends now call Bates, spread false rumors about the baby being his. That caused a lot of stress, and my husband had to call his workplace to report the situation. Bates was suspended while they reviewed the matter, and I'm confident he'll be let go. In the meantime, my mother has been trying to track us, but no one who knows our whereabouts has contacted her. We've even set up legal channels for all communication. My dad and I are the only ones responding to her, and it's been exhausting. My dad has also been a great help with the baby, as usual, and he's doing his best to be a strong presence in the kids' lives despite everything going on. Despite everything, we're finding some peace. We've started having smaller family gatherings with my brothers and sisters-in-law, and it's been a breath of fresh air. We make sure the kids know they don't have to spend time with people they don't like, and we respect their voices. Without my sister around, family time is actually enjoyable now. She used to drain the energy out of every room, but now we can relax. I've had my ups and downs, and I miss the mother I thought I had. My therapist has helped me understand that healing is a marathon, not a sprint, and I'm doing my best to stay positive. As for Bates, he's been let go from his job, and his company's reputation has suffered as well. He's made a mess of things, and now he has to live with it. I'm just focused on keeping my family safe and moving forward. My husband has been incredible throughout all of this, and we're both committed to protecting our child from any more negativity. I can't thank you all enough for the support and advice throughout this ordeal. It has meant the world to me, and I'm grateful for everyone who has been there for us. I know the road ahead isn't easy, but I have hope. This journey has taught me the importance of prioritizing my family and my peace of mind above everything else. My dad moved into the guest house when we formally settled into a new house. We concluded that although it would be great for him to be with us, we all still need our space. After many conversations in and outside of therapy, we decided what to do with the previous place later, and we're still renting it now. About 3 times a week, my dad has grandchildren all gathered around. My mother refuses to let him have the child until she knows where he lives, which, to be fair, is a typical thing, but considering her state, we don't want her around. He still needs to see my sister's child separately. My mom objected to the lawyers about how unjust this is, but there's little she can do about it. My dad still gets to visit every grandchild. He also had a confession about something he'd been hiding. It hurt my stomach when he told me, but I told him to relax. There was nothing wrong with what he did, though he felt really bad about keeping it from me. My dad received an email on Mother's Day with a link to an Instagram account that had a somber video about my mother and how most of her family has deserted her, along with how much of a saint my sister is for being there for her. I forwarded it to the attorney. It was pitiful and infuriating. Dad formally asked for a divorce in May, and the procedure is still underway. I believe it's final, as my dad said he'd sooner drink bleach than go back to her, and my mom insists he is mistaken. My dad had a great Father's Day with my brother and husband, and my sister uploaded a lot of items online. We didn't want her to know about it, so we blocked her from finding out. They went to a hotel and set up a tent in the middle for the kids and a little teepee for the infant on a camping trip. Honestly, one of the best things I've ever done is have a baby. Watching my husband be the wonderful father I knew he'd be makes me so happy, though it's demanding. We have a lot of help, and I'm thankful beyond measure. My sisters-in-law and I now have a little calendar for sharing age-appropriate activities for the kids, if they so want. We let them know they don't have to hang out with individuals they dislike, and that their voices matter. We have small get-togethers and brunches, and right now, everyone's focused on the baby. They claim to be her defenders, but honestly, without my sister present, family time is a delight rather than a chore. She used to sap the energy from the room. I know it sounds awful, but with her gone, everything has changed for the better. I have had some breakdowns as I miss the mother I thought I had, but I've learned that healing is a process, and I'm focusing on what's best for my family. The therapist reminds me that it's a marathon, not a sprint. Bates, by the way, was let go from his job, and his company's reputation has been irreparably damaged. As for my ex, he's suffering the consequences of his actions, and I'm just focused on moving forward with my family. That sent me a 12-page, double-sided, single-space letter. It seemed a bit much, so my lawyer reviewed it and sent me a synopsis. I didn't read the entire thing. Word got around through the grapevine, people tell me, because they know he's stalking me, that the mother of his children relocated, and he didn't care. He said it was for the best. This man wants to play family with me and the baby, but hardly gives his own children any thought. My mom let him move back in with her, so at least he won't be homeless. Sadly, I doubt he'll learn anything from this situation. It's not the most exciting update, but that's how things are. Oh, and with my dad's approval, my spouse burned or donated everything my mom or parents gave him, even the sentimental items. He believes life is too short to allow her any space in his life. I'm pretty happy you're making the best of things with the solid parts of your family. I think Bates is a terrible person, but has he ever done anything relevant or connected to his work? I honestly don't see the firing aspect. He used to be seen as a good but detached feminist single dad. He even told some colleagues that I stayed with him longer than we had originally planned. I have respect for your situation, and I'm sorry for what you've gone through. I'm reading your story from India at 1:30 a.m. as I hope your child grows up to be as healthy and pleasant as you are, and that all this madness ends soon. I don't intend to go back to my mother. I miss her a lot and shed many tears, but the baby deserves the best family we can offer, and my mom is no longer part of that. She's not the person I thought she was. Though it hurts, I have to protect my child. Long time no update, but first, I want to thank you for all the supportive comments and advice. Every time I log into this account, I'm overwhelmed with kind words. I doubt many will read this, but for those who want updates, here's what's been going on. After several arguments and outbursts from my mother, my parents are officially divorced. My dad kept the house and received a lump sum payment. We're all thrilled for him. He seems like a new man. A quick flashback. We didn't fire our cleaning lady during all the chaos. She had been serving my husband's family for decades, and her absence due to the drama caused me a lot of stress. We're not slobs, but she's the one who takes care of the house, and we didn't want to lose her. My dad told her to take paid vacation until we moved into a new house, and she gladly accepted. She's now dating my dad's new girlfriend, who's a beautiful woman with grown children. She's independent and enjoys her freedom, and my dad made it clear he wasn't planning to get married again. When my mother learned about their relationship, she almost passed out. She kept calling it a late midlife crisis and accusing him of trying to be a sugar daddy. I overheard this, but haven't interacted with her. As I understand it, she's struggling financially and depending on my dad, who no longer helps my sister out. My dad's ready to help my nephew, but things became difficult when my nephew started calling my baby fair baby and saying she wasn't his cousin. He even pushed one of my husband's nephews during a birthday party. The children were confused, but they told an adult right away. My dad spoke with my nephew, but he kept repeating these things. When my sister was told, she claimed there was nothing she could do to stop him from speaking the truth. The situation is unraveling, and my dad has cut ties with my sister. My nephew now attends public school after my spouse forced my dad to stop associating with them. Bates is still unemployed, but the stalking issue has led to his firing. Ironically, he worked in a field related to vulnerable women and was dismissed for inappropriate conduct. The company didn't want their reputation tarnished. Bates has sent 2 more long, rambling letters to me, which only my lawyer reads and deals with. My lawyer is amazing. Aside from that, I've had no other major issues with him, except for one unsettling encounter. A random woman approached me at the grocery store and asked if my baby was Bates's child. I froze, and she said I should feel bad for hurting such a man. Apparently, Bates still claims the baby is his, and I loved him so much that I stayed with him. This is all nonsense. The photo she was referring to had been emailed, once to a family group. My husband was furious when I told him, but he calmed down. We decided to cut off the rat. My dad's 2 sisters were also feeding information to my mom, which was disappointing, but my dad is determined to cut them off. He still hasn't heard from them since he made that decision. My family and my husband's family are doing well. We've spent time with them and celebrated holidays. They hardly interact with my sister and mother anymore, and it turns out my sister wasn't even a fan of our mom, but kept the peace for the sake of appearances. My sister-in-law is delighted that we let her babysit overnight. Her grandchildren love her, and sometimes she has them all under one roof. She used to be a flight attendant, so their favorite game is pretending to be airline passengers. We don't worry because we know she's great with our children. My mom kept stalking her, so my sister-in-law made her social media private. I think my mom is jealous. Last but not least, my husband keeps me grounded, even in the small matters. We're talking about adopting another baby, or maybe having one of our own, but we still need to decide. We're fortunate to have a strong support network and plenty of time to discuss it. I still long for my mom, and when I hit milestones I know I can't share with her, I cry. But she's a bad person, and I have to protect my family. Family safety comes first. As for Father's Day, my husband and my brother took my dad on a camping trip. It was wonderful, aside from some poorly placed sunburns and bug bites, but we're happy and focused on our little one. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe and hit notification bell to stay updated.